Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to Getting Organized is Not the Answer. Today's episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. So if you're just joining us and you're like, what in the world is this? Let me just talk about something for a second. Barbara, for 40 plus years, you have been teaching people to get organized, right? Seems so simple, among other things that you've been teaching all these years. You've written these books. I mean, if we start all the way on the left, Taming the Paper Tiger, Organizing the Paper in Your Life. When was that one? That original book, Barbara? What year was that?
The very first one? 1988.
1988, the year I graduated from high school. Imagine that. And then you wrote Taming the Paper Tiger at work. You also wrote Taming the Paper Tiger at home. That's not on here.
But it's now Taming the Paper Tiger at home is now Organizing Paper at Home, What to Toss and How to Find the Rest. That's just retitled that book.
Exactly. When I met you, it was Taming the Paper Tiger at Home, and then now we have Organizing Paper at Home. So again, organizing, right? Get organized. When you guys hear get organized, or you hear how to get organized, you think of, or you hear Barbara's name, you think get organized, right? And then Less Clutter, More Life, Taming the Digital Tiger, Walking with Barbara. All of these things are around. If somebody says, do you know who Barbara Hemphill is? For those of you that do know Barbara, those are the words that I would think of. Getting organized, get organized, how to get organizing your paper, all of that, right? And so we were having a conversation this past week, and Barbara was very passionate. We were talking about a specific topic, which we'll get into with you guys in a few minutes. By the way, if you are new to our channel, please like this video. If we are on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our channel so that you get notified of our future videos. And if you're whatever platform you're watching this on, post in the comments and we can actually share your comments on the screen. It'll really help our discussion. So we were having this conversation, and then Barbara was very passionate, and she said, getting organized is not the answer. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And she said, that's going to be our pep talk for this week. We're going to talk about this. So I'm hearing, I think I have an idea of some of where she's going with this, but I'm going to be hearing a lot of this for the first time too. So Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you. What the heck do you mean by that?
Well, one of the reasons that I stay in this business is because I keep learning. I mean, I just constantly keep learning. And I was in a conversation with a prospect, and the prospect said, I've just got to get organized. And I don't know, I think it was the Holy Spirit who just hit me like a ton of bricks and said, getting organized isn't the issue. Because so many times people think, I'm just going to get organized and then it will be done. Well, that's like saying, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and then I'll be healthy. So it isn't about getting organized. It's about, that's the first step, and it's about staying organized. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is that what I'm discovering, I'm 77 years old. And what I'm learning is there are always new things to organize, things that I didn't care so much about organizing before or never really thought about. And I'll give you an example that just happened this morning. I was sitting in my Doris chair in my quiet time, and I'm a journaler. I have tons of journals, different kinds of journals and things like that. But I've been recently thinking about the fact that I really wouldn't want anybody else to read my journals. And sometimes I'm reluctant to put things in journals because I'm thinking, gosh, I sure wouldn't want anybody to know that I said or thought that. And I thought, wait a minute. Okay, one of the things I need to organize is I need to collect all the journals that I have in various places around the house. Some of them are business journals, some of them are personal journals, some of them are from classes. I need to collect them all. I need to put them in a specific place. And then I'm going to go to two people. One is the lady who's cleaned my house for 23 years. She's like a daughter to me now. And the other one is my stepdaughter, and say, when I die, one of the first things I want you to do is go get those journals and trash them. So that's a new thing to organize. So organizing, it's not about getting organized. It's not even about staying organized, because it's about what do you need to organize now, because things keep coming up. And here's the really important part. And again, I found this from my own experience. The older you get, the harder it is to create and maintain new systems. And I've used this example. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I don't have a better example than this because it is so true. My husband and I have been married for 37 years, and he's not organized. He says, that's why I married you. And he will give me, he has a lot of real estate investments and things like that. And he will give me paper, because he's a paper person. He'll give me paper and he'll say, will you file this? Doesn't tell me where to file it. He just says, will you file this? And so I file it. Well, for decades, he would come back and say, oh, I gave you such and such a paper, and he'd give me a word or something. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I would go to our finding system, and sure enough, I'd find it. Now what happens? It just happened last week. He said to me, several months ago, I gave you this surveyor was on our property, and I'm trying to get him to do such and such, and I want him to come back, and he's supposed to come tomorrow. Do you have that piece of paper? I had no recollection. I didn't remember the surveyor's name. I didn't remember which property it was. I remembered nothing about the conversation. But I went to our finding system and I did a keyword search under surveyor, and sure enough, it popped up. And when I pulled it out and looked at it, I still didn't remember. It wasn't like it used to be. I could pull it out and say, oh yeah, I remember that. I pulled it that time. I had no recollection of it whatsoever. But literally in a matter of seconds, I was able to get it into his hand. So it's not about getting organized. It's about, it's not even about staying organized. It's about organizing is a way of life. It's a way of thinking, constantly saying what needs to happen next.
You said yesterday, I wrote down the notes. You said getting organized, and it may be different. It means something different at whatever stage you are in life, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. And the older you get, the harder it is to create new. So if you have a system, so we have a framework. I mean, everybody who joins our program gets a framework. And that framework, but there's more than one framework, actually. I mean, there's the Magic 6, and we have a 5-step process, and we have frameworks for several different problems. You get a framework which will work every time. But creating the older you get, the harder it is to create that framework. So once you have the framework, so I applied the 5-step process to my journals that I talked about today. It's like, okay, if my journals were organized, what would have to happen? I would want them to be destroyed immediately upon my death. That's my vision. That's what state your vision is for my journals. Upon my death, I want them destroyed immediately. I don't want anybody reading through them. And then what are the obstacles? Well, people wouldn't know, or they might not know where they were, or I didn't tell them, or whatever else. So the obstacle, I had to identify what those were. And then what were my resources? Well, I certainly have a plastic box. I went to the garage and I got one of those favorite clear plastic boxes that we use all the time. And I put them in that box, and I put them in the closet in my Doris room. And so that was another. And then the resources are the woman who comes to my house once a week. She's been coming for 26 years now. And then also my stepdaughter. So that way, if one didn't get it, the other one might get it. So those are my resources. So now my next action is, I haven't told Angie or Julia yet. So that will be the next thing to do, is to tell Angie and Julia, this is This is what I've done. So that's a framework that I have organized something that I never thought about organizing before. The other thing is that habits are so crucial. And there's a quote I just read from Zig Ziglar this week. Actually, this week, it was this morning. I mean, it's like God put it this morning. It's like, okay, this is what we're talking about. So this quote from Zig Ziglar is, character gets you out of bed. Commitment moves you to action. Discipline enables you to follow through. And follow through is just so, it's so important. In fact, Andrea, I know you remember this. Some of the people listening to this have experienced the straw and the potato exercise.
Follow through.
Follow through. So and I learned this from my husband. I creatively acquired it. He actually would come to training and do this. And we'd have a potato, an Irish potato, and a straw. And he'd stand up in front of the group and say, okay, did you know that you can put this straw through a potato? I was like, no, you can't do that. Well, so he would have us practice. He would take the straw in our hand and you put your thumb on the end of it. And then you do follow through. And you just practice. And we do that through the whole day, all day long. We practice it. And then at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you put the potato in here. And then you would go follow through. And sure enough, that straw would go right through the potato. Almost there was usually one or two people who couldn't do it. And the reason that we would find was they would pull back. They would go that, and then they'd see the potatoes like, oh, this is not going to work. And so you kind of pull it back. Well,
it took me a while. I was one of those people. It took me a while to get it. And you said, or either you or Alfred said, you don't think about it. You're thinking too hard about doing it right. Don't think about it. Just do it. And then I did it.
Well, and isn't that a lesson in that? How often do we think about our obstacles instead of thinking about the vision of what we do? The vision is I want to take that potato home and show it to my grandson and said, hey, can you do this? That was my vision. And so I think that's just discipline is a key part of it, and part of what prevents us from disciplining ourselves. One of the things we say about organizing all the time is that accomplishing your work and enjoying your life is 80% about mindset. It's not tips or tricks or systems or any of those things. It's believing that you can do it. It's having faith in yourself that you can do this, and you have to define what this is. So Proverbs says, without a vision, the people perish. So it's like, what does accomplish my work and enjoy my life mean? And to the point you brought up earlier, Andrea, that means different things at different stages in your life, which is why getting organized is not the answer, because you can get organized for a certain period in your life when your children are a certain age. Like we talked on one of our earlier pep talks about how when you have young children, that's circumstantial disorganization. I mean, nobody that has young children doesn't have clutter. I mean,
even Marie Kondo figured that out. She was at a totally different stage in her life. And those of you that know who she is, she was everything is tidy and perfect and wonderful. And then she had children and she's like, okay, wait. That's different now. So it is. And then as your children get older and then they leave, and then then you're an empty nester, it's all a different process.
Right. And as you get older, as you get older, but here's the part that I hope people will think about as being very, very encouraging. The reason that I still am in business is because I'm living this. I am in my own life getting more and more organized all the time. Some things I'm not as good at as I used to be. And a good example would be when I was a new entrepreneur, it was just me, myself, and I. I named my company when I started my company. I named it Barbara Hemphill Associates. And the reason I did that was because I knew that I couldn't do it alone, but I didn't really know what that meant. And I also did it because I had a friend of mine who was in PR said, if you name your company after your name, then it's easier to market, because when you go to introduce yourself, you're actually introducing your company's name as well. So it's like, oh, okay, I like that idea. So I named it Barbara Hemphill Associates. And I joke that my first associate was my hairdresser. And I had a guy who did my hair. He was very difficult to get to. He was an awesome guy. And he always said that he was an artist. And he'd say, your face is a palette. And as a hairdresser, I'm making your hair. And it was like, I knew I had to give speeches. That's how I started my business. Was I go to parent teacher associations and garden clubs and church. And I would say, here's 10 ways to organize your kids, or 10 ways to organize your kitchen. And if my hair didn't look good, then I didn't have the confidence to give a speech. So he was my first one. My second one was a bookkeeper, because I went to George Washington University and I signed up for an accounting class. I thought, okay, if I'm going to be a business owner, I need to know accounting. I lasted 2 days.
Yeah, I can't see you in an accounting class, Barbara. Sorry.
2 days. And I said, okay, if I have to know accounting in order to be an entrepreneur, then I'm not going to be there. But for many decades, I did a lot of things that I was not good at, that I did not enjoy doing, and I was not good at, to my detriment, because I didn't have enough faith in my ability to be profitable and all those kinds of things. So I ended up doing things. The older I get, the more confident I become about what I do well and what I don't do well. And one of the things that we've taught in Productive Environment Institute from the very beginning was, together we are better. That it's like, it's partnering with other people that have skills that you don't. And so as I get older, I'm letting go of the things that I'm not as good at. In fact, there was a networking group that's very, very powerful. And I got on it for 2 different times. And I have ADHD, and they do fast introductions and things like that. It just freaked me out. I couldn't do it. I got distracted, and I couldn't remember people's names, and I couldn't write fast enough. And I said, I'm sure that for some people in some stages of their life, this is a wonderful group. For me, it is not. So now I use the directory because I'm a member. I can go to the directory and I can look through at my own pace and say, oh, I want to connect with this person, and I can do one-on-one. I've also learned that I love live now. I just started a group called Faith-Driven Entrepreneurs, and I started it in my church. And you could do it virtually or live, but I did it live because at this stage in my life, I really want personal connections with people. And I think there are a lot of other people that are craving personal attention as well. In fact, I saw the Wall Street Journal this morning had a big article about virtual meetings and how to keep people awake, because so many people are kind of overwhelmed with virtual. So we just keep learning. So getting organized is not the answer. It's becoming a way of life so that you can do what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too, Barbara, if you guys look up search terms around, when you are overwhelmed with clutter and disorganization, and that is it's real, then you might go searching how to get organized. Those are the search terms. And so that is all out there. The knowledge is there. The knowledge is out there. Barbara and I were talking about this earlier. If it was just about, if having the knowledge was enough, you could read any one of these books and you could do our what we call our productive environment finding system. Our system is very different than anybody else as far as organizing, and so that you can find things when you need, find what you need when you need it. The knowledge is out there. We've done free webinars for years. We've done free workshops. We're doing these. You can find the knowledge. And now with AI and ChatGPT, the knowledge is out there. You can pretty much find anything. So I'm sure you guys have heard this quote, knowledge is power, right? Well, knowledge is power. Bacon said that in 1597, so it must be true. Well, there was an update to that quote, and I don't know what year, but you guys probably know Dale Carnegie. He said, knowledge is not power until it is applied. And that is So cute. Go ahead. What were you going to say,
Well, I
Barbara?
was just going to say, and there, I would update that with another adverb, and
Mhm.
which is until it's continually applied.
Continually applied. That's good. That's good. Yeah. And that is really what we have, the programs that we have in Productive Environment Institute, they kind of have evolved because of seeing the need for this. Like I said, people could read the books, people could take a class and say, oh, okay, I learned Barbara's system. Okay. I can guarantee you that's not enough. Just like going to the gym. Oh, yeah, I went to the gym. Oh, yeah, I had a personal training session. He showed me what to do. Is that going to keep you going? Is that going to keep the process going? No, you have to apply it and you have to continually apply it. So this year we actually launched something called their boot camps, Office Transformation Boot Camp. And now we also deliver a digital transformation boot camp, because we're all about your physical space, your paper, your organization around your desk and your workspace. But guess what? Your digital space is also a workspace. And if your email is overflowing and I always tell people, imagine every email in your inbox as if it were a piece of paper coming into on your desk. Somebody's coming in and piling a new piece of paper on your desk every single day. Every single time there's an email, it's a piece of paper. So, we created these boot camps to teach Barbara's systems that have worked for over 40 years. And then even that, the feedback is tremendous. People feel better. They feel lighter. The system is working. They love it. But even that is not enough. A lot of for many, it's like, and even for us, we have to continually work our own system. So we've gone beyond the boot camps. Oh, I like that. Beyond the boot camp. Beyond the boot camps. And, our next program is called SOAR. SOAR. So systemize, organize, automate, so you can relate, which means build relationships. And that is the structure. Again, it's evolved into that because we see the need for we talked about this last week, Barbara, the pillars for transformation. Number one, we see the need for connection. There are people in our boot camp, and if you guys are listening, yes, I'm talking about you, right now, who they're not able to do anything with their filing or their paper or any of the things they're learning unless they're on Zoom with us sitting down together, because life is busy. They've got businesses, they've got families, they have a lot going on.
And it's also, and I think this is where this lack of confidence in your ability to solve the problem comes in. I'm not sure I'm doing it right. I may make a mistake. I don't. So there's a whole lot of fears. I mentioned earlier that 80% of success was mindset. It's believing that you can do it. In fact, I've had some issues with my back. And I did a 21-day water fast. And after that, I was very weak. And I was working out with my trainer. I said, "Oh, I'm so weak." And he looked at me and said, "Stop saying that."
Yes.
It's getting stronger. It's like, I didn't think of that. It was just like, it just came out. I'm weak because I was trying to do something that I used to do 21 days before and I couldn't. And so that's, again, that it's not getting there, but it's continuing to do it and continuing to get stronger. There's a wonderful book that I'm reading now. I'm just devouring it. I don't know how many times I've read it now, called Your Thoughts Are Killing You. Well, that's an example. So when I'm working on my trainer and I say, "I'm so weak," that thought is literally stopping my progress. When he changed me over and got to say, "I'm getting stronger," it was like, it was much easier to go back and do that exercise when I thought it from. And that reminds me of my mother-in-law. My first mother-in-law was a polio survivor, mother of 7 kids, and a special education teacher. And she was an amazing person. Sometimes she kind of annoyed me because she always seemed like she was always upbeat. And sometimes I was like young kids with colds and it's like, "Oh, how can you always be so positive?" Now I really appreciate her. And one of the things that she said that I use all the time is, every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Yeah.
And so even those things that I'm not better at in one way, I can get better at in another way. I can compensate for something in one way. So that's why it's not the getting, but it's the continuing.
Which, to your point, we were talking about connection, your connection with your trainer, your connection with what your mother taught you, so having a connection with other people and doing what you want to do, whatever that is, it helps you with the continuity of it, which we'll talk about in a second. The next pillar of transformation is structure. So having a structure, your trainer has a specific plan for you when you go there. And so same thing with our boot camps, we have a specific structure. So that's one of the biggest things people say, I just don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. So you want to have structure. However, I know some people get freaked out by the word structure. So we like to say core structure, having a core structure with flexibility. So we want to make sure it's something that works for you. And of course, this is similar. Sorry, I just covered up what Ed's just posted. It's similar to connection is the accountability piece, knowing that somebody's going to be there for you, knowing that somebody's looking for you. Because I work out at DFit every day, and I know if I'm not there. In fact, I missed a day about a week ago. I missed a day because I stayed up really late, which is really rare for me, but I did. I stayed up late working on something, and I missed. And somebody had written on the board, it was the Monday after Super Bowl, so they thought I stayed home because of Super Bowl. But anyway, oh, where are you, Andrea? You know what I mean? It's like you see the same people each time, and they're looking for you. Same thing with our boot camps. And then that also leads to the fourth pillar, which is consistency. That, to your point, Barbara, getting organized is not enough. The consistency has to be there. And if it's not, and it hasn't been, it's not your fault. All of us have been through things. We've all set goals through our lives, but we didn't continue on because we didn't have the connection. We didn't have a structure. We didn't have the accountability, and we didn't have the consistency. And Barbara, what's that quote by James Clear?
You do not. Oh, I love this. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
Yep.
And we use that acronym or system of saving you space, time, energy, and money. And one of the other things is that as long as you're breathing, it's not too late. I mean, there are so many amazing stories about people in their 70s and 80s that did incredible things. So as long as you're alive and breathing, it's never too late.
There is hope. And speaking of, here, Mom, I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to bring the birthday girl on to the camera real quick so you guys can say hello to my mother. She's 82 today. 82 years young. If she can do this, you guys can do this. Right, Mom? You've got all your files systemized. I know where everything is because we took a class with Ann Cueva, one of our consultants, and her class is about make a plan while you can. So I have access to Mom's information if something happens to her and vice versa. So that's another reason, you guys, for pulling your information together and putting it into a system that you can access. So Mom, how do you feel at 82 with organizing and what we do together with this business?
Oh, I feel great. Everything has a place, and when I put it in it, everything is good. Like everything else. Like everything
she said,
else.
when I put it in it.
Well, yeah, we always say it's not clutter's not the problem. Everybody has clutter. Clutter happens. But the issue is when you have clutter and you don't know what to do with it. So one of our steps on organizing is, does it work? We have these 4 steps. Does it work? Do you like it? Because if you don't like it, you won't do it. Does it work for the other people it affects? So Marge's system has to work for Andrea and vice versa, or at least enough to explain it. Right. I often with employees, I had this with a company last week. It's like, well, we're all different. I said, you have to have a system in place that is clear enough that you can explain it to somebody else. They might say, that's not how I would do it, but you could explain it to them. And then the last question is, can I recover quickly? Because clutter happens. Mm-hmm. And as long as you have a system, you can recover.
That's right. That's right. All right, Mom, I'll let you go back off stage so you can relax. Happy birthday. I just had to bring her on.
That was great.
You just said something that made me think. What was the last thing you just said, Barbara? Can you remember? I was going to say something about it. You don't remember what you just said?
I don't remember.
But it was good too. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, so yeah, that is really the key point, is to continue. In fact, with our 5-step, we do have a lot of frameworks, you guys. With our 5-step productive environment process, number 5 is sustain your success. And we always say that is the most difficult, because you come in excited and motivated to learn and get organized and learn something new, and it feels really good that you're doing it. We don't want you to just do it one time. We want you to continue and sustain your success. And so that's why we have built, I mean, you guys actually, our clients actually helped us build what we have, because we saw what they needed and we put it together. So I do want to invite you guys to, we actually have a free webinar coming up. So Eds, if you could post the webinar link. Oh, here it is. I'll do it. There it is. We have a free webinar coming up very shortly. It's next week, actually. productiveenvironment.com/webinar. This particular one, we are recording this pep talk in February. And so our upcoming webinar is related to digital organization. So depending on when you're watching this replay, we might be talking about your physical space, your desk, your filing cabinet, your files, or we might be talking about your digital, your email, your computer files, your calendar, and those types of things. It really doesn't matter which one we're talking about, because chances are if you're struggling in one, you're probably struggling in the other. And maybe you're not even struggling, but if there's room for improvement in one, there's room for improvement in the other. So coming up next week, we have less digital for our business owners, professionals, and I should also say for people who are caregivers, anybody, even our retired people that are in our groups, people that have to deal with a lot of paper, a lot of stuff, or a lot of email and digital. So not just business owners, but the name of our webinar is Less Digital Clutter, More Clients. You can replace the word clients with cash flow or peace or
More
hope,
fun.
life, or more fun, or Barbara's book. Hold on. This one, the purple one, Less Clutter, More Life. So maybe it's less digital clutter, more life. So we would love for you to join us on that free webinar. It is coming up very, very soon. And all you got to do is register for the webinar. You'll get the information. And yes, I know you're going to ask me if it's recorded. And can you get the replay? Yes. If you register, you will get a limited time replay. The replay isn't open all the time. We want you. This is one of our accountability things that we do. We don't want you to just say, "Oh, I've got the replay. I'll watch it anytime," because chances are you won't. So we want you to learn. And yes, we are going to be giving specific steps. We will be we'll tell you about our boot camp as well, our boot camps. But we are also teaching specific steps that you can log off our webinar at the end, and you can go and implement a couple of the very simple steps to get started on managing your digital information in a more organized way. So I think that sums up. Did you guys get it? Do you understand what Barbara means by getting organized is not the answer? It may be a start. It's a start.
Maybe it's living organized.
Living organized. Yeah.
Living and working organized, because it is something that needs to. And so part of the boot camps, one of the things that we always focus on is what will you do? Because we call it an art. Organizing and productivity is an art form. It doesn't have any one way. We've often said we get David Allen and Marie Kondo dropouts. Both of them have systems that absolutely will work. And we know people who've done them. I've seen them. I know they work. But not everybody wants to do it that way. So our goal is to help you find a way that you will do so that you can continually accomplish your work and enjoy your life no matter what your age.
That's right. That's right. And do it with a community of people, a community of like-minded people that will help you and do it together. So thank you for joining us for this episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. And if there's something you would like us to address, please post it in the comments wherever you're watching us from. We do have a goal this year to grow our YouTube channel so other people can find us. In fact, I talked to someone yesterday, she might be listening, who said, basically, thank God I found you. She found us on YouTube. And she said, I'm so thankful I found you. And I'm so thankful that I'm having this conversation with you, because basically she has hope now. And so that's what we want more people to have. And again, we have an acronym. We love acronyms and frameworks. HOPE, helping others pursue entrepreneurship. So we want to give people hope. And yeah, so we want to help other people. So you can help other people find us by subscribing to our channel and liking our videos. So then that way the algorithms will say, oh, this is good. Let's put this out there to more people. So we really would appreciate that. So that's all for me. Barbara, any final words before we end the stream?
So glad that you're with us, and we'll look forward to next week. Who knows what we'll talk about, because we don't know yet.
It's always a great surprise, and it's whatever God puts on our hearts. So, or if you guys request something, then we'll do it. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.